Let's get to Bola Shodipo in here. It's good to have you generally on the show today.
Thank you.
How disturbing, because you are a tax administrator, you're a chartered accountant, how disturbing are the issues of tax generation in Nigeria right now with some of these figures we're rolling out here?
Yeah. Well, good morning, viewers, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting me once more.
You're welcome.
I have seen what you rolled out. For me, I'm not disturbed. It could be of concern, but disturbed, no. Clearly, no. Why? First and foremost, let me correct something from your presentation. Disturbed, no. Clearly, no. Why? First and foremost, let me correct something from your presentation. The 2016 figure that you said is about 1.2 trillion tax revenue generated. That 1.2 billion is just only the tax element of revenue. Tax is not the only source of revenue available to the federal government.
Yes, we're concentrating on internally generated revenue.
Now you have to compare apple with apple, not apple with oranges, because the figure of 5 trillion you took for 2012, it's a combination of all the figures from duties, from custom duties and things like that to 5 trillion. So if you're looking at that figure, then the figure to look at is about 3.3 trillion for 2016. Now,
we'll break it down next time.
Yeah, clearly it is, it declined. I mean, from, according to what you presented and what I also know of, from about 2015. You know, and you and I know the reasons for that. We got into this recession. How did we get into recession? It's a different ball game from the topic we're treating as at today. But surely, and it was disturbing, everyone was affected, you know, federal government, state government, local government, even individuals and families. But should we get really, really disturbed? No. Reason is that, but it's of concern, like I said earlier on. Reason why we shouldn't get too disturbed is that as at today, if you look at the first half of 2017, you will see that the trend is already changing. As at 2017, as at mid-year 2017, total revenue generated, as at that time, about 1.78 trillion. If you extrapolate that on a straight line basis into the end of the year, you will find that the year will likely close with about 3.6 trillion, which will be about 300 billion over and above what they closed with the previous year. That means they had bottomed out. They've cut into the rock bottom. Now they are going up. Okay? And also of hope, again, is what you have also demonstrated. You have the right people managing the tax administration of the Federation right now at a challenging time. And that's one of the few places where the federal government had gotten it very right, putting the right people in the right place to manage a crisis-prone regime. Tunde Fowler, you know, proved himself over time when Lagos State was challenged by whatever you want to call it, political, whatever, when we didn't have money, money was seized by the federal government because we created some local government. So there was a compelling need to look inwards. He came in about and around that time, and with a team, and of course, a forward-looking governor at the time, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, everyone worked together, and from about 600 million got into billions. As of today, averagely, Lagos State generates about 30 billion every month. Wow. So that is what it's trying to replicate, and you can see it work. Okay. Because over time, you know, you could see that it was reducing the decline in revenue generation to the extent now it bottomed out and is cutting to an increase as of today, percentage increase over and above previous year if you do a year-on-year analysis of the figure.
All right, so can we say the voluntary assets and income declaration scheme is helping, so far?
That's just one of the few things he had come up with. If we need to talk about what he is doing, then we will need to take about an hour to talk about it. But clearly,
it's the first really in Nigeria to
no, where? But clearly, it's the thing to do. You know, a new sheriff is on board, and he's saying, "Look, I know a lot of you have sinned. I don't want to look back into your sins, so I'm declaring an amnesty. If only you will come into repentance. Come here now and tell me, hey, I haven't paid for a long time. I'm ready to pay now." And he says, you will not pay interest, I will not penalize you, and I will not prosecute you. I'm giving you a 9-month window to come up and say to me, hey, this is it, and even if you do not have it all at a go to pay, you can still pay instrumentally. You have a 9-month window to do it. But I tell you what, after this 9 months, which closes March 31st, 2018, if I get to know that you have done this, you'll pay interest, I will prosecute you criminally because tax evasion is a criminal offense, and you will pay penalty on the unpaid proportion. After paying the tax that was due and you didn't pay, you will pay penalty and you will pay interest on it, and likely you're still going to be prosecuted. I don't know how many of the entities or individuals will want to face such a thing and not rush up.
Well, then
to
about 40% of wealthy Nigerians are accused of not paying the actual tax they are supposed to pay, meaning that mostly it's even the rich people that are kind of robbing the government.
You see, for me, it's even more than 40% if I will take the statistics by myself and do a survey on it. You know, from my experience when we were in Lagos State government and we dealt with them, the real set of people that pay taxes are the people in the formal sector. The informal sector and the HNIs, high net worth individuals, are cheating on a lot of people, and that was why at the time we started prosecuting them under some criminal codes and penal laws in Lagos State government, and we brought some of them into. I'm sure the exercise Tunde is trying to do right now would lead into that, because some people will still be obstinate, will be recalcitrant, will ignore, will do everything, and they will be shown as examples. Once the federal government says something and it is time to act, federal government should act, and that's when people believe that it is a law and it is a policy that everyone should comply with. Otherwise, when you say it and the time comes and nothing happens to anyone, everybody will say, hey, they just shout and nothing comes out, like a dog just barking and cannot bite.
Yeah, but the point there is, in the political system like Nigeria, where people have lots of political affiliation to people in government and all of that, a lot of people go scot-free with so many things. Lagos State was a success story because the temperaments and the composition of people in Lagos State certainly is not the same. If you copy that and paste somewhere else in the country, it may not be the same. So how optimistic are you that the tax amnesty is going to be as successful as the Lagos story was?
In my very strong opinion, a Nigerian is a Nigerian. Either you're a Lagosian or you're from Sokoto or you're from Akwa Ibom. See, what is important is leadership. Leadership. You put a flock of sheep behind a lion, the sheep will behave like lion. You put some group of lions too in front of a sheep, they will behave like a sheep. So it's leadership that will, see, if Tunde says, and he has the political backup, the political will of the federal government is there to support him, and he says, hey, if you are not paying tax, I will deal with you just like I dealt in Lagos. And if he takes 1 or 2 examples, then people will know it's a serious thing, they will comply. It doesn't matter who they are, where they are. If it's worked in a climb, talk less in a sub-climb, in a sub-sovereign. If it's worked in a climb, it is likely to work in your own climb. If it works in another country, it's likely to work in your country. Talk less if it had worked in a sub-country. I'm sure it's going to work everywhere. It depends on the leadership.
Even the finance minister said that the federal government is ready to step on toes, but how decisive will that big stick be to be wielded on those that would not comply, especially come March 2018? I'm asking this from what he just asked you. It worked in Lagos, yes. It can work in a state, yes. But when it gets to the federal level in Nigeria, you know, things change, and then so many factors will come into play. So are you positive, really, that at the end of the day, all the erring tax evaders would be punished and not some would be favored over others? Because once that starts happening, like you said earlier, it might not work.
See, the issue is here, I can't say all tax evading elements will be punished, but those who are caught will be shown as examples, and that will have a multiplier effect on a lot of people because it's a random thing. You don't know if you are going to be the next to be caught, and you don't want to be caught, so you go and pay. I keep saying to you, what is important is that the federal government should make examples of some people that are clearly not complying either through underpayment or absolute evasion. They should make serious public examples of them. Look, it happens in other climes. You can't come out and say you want to even contest an election without being correct with your tax position in that country. They will make a mess of you. So why is it different from what we have here? The federal government, through an executive order, that's why I believe they will support this motion. An executive order was issued on this VAD you're talking about, this voluntary asset and income declaration thing. And they have said that, look, FRS, this has been done, whatever the sanctions, after the expiration of the window date, then do what you need to do. If the federal government reneges on that, then we don't take our federal government serious, and then I don't think we're in a country. So that's why, I believe we're in a country. I believe in the federal government. I believe the people need to support the federal government. I believe we should give them the benefit of the doubt until they act otherwise. So I still believe that it's going to happen, and it's going to improve. And I could see some level of improvement. As of today, they've identified a lot of companies that have been evading taxes for a very long time, almost 1,000 of them. They're going to bring them into the tax net, forcefully if they don't want to come, voluntarily. And they are telling you that, hey, over time, over 10 million other companies and individuals will be joining the tax net very soon. And that's not blabbing, because it had happened. In Lagos State, when we first started, less than 1 million people out of about 8 million that are expected to be paying taxes in Lagos State were on our tax data. Eventually, gradually, we started going on and going on. About 50% of the expected figures came into the tax net before we left that administration. And I'm sure it has gone beyond that now, because at the time we left with about 25 billion average monthly whatever. It's gone up to about 30 billion. So they are raising the stake. People who came in after us are raising the stake. And that's what is happening at the federal government. You know, and when you are actually talking about dwindling tax whatever, I have followed you because you have used absolute figures. But the truth of the matter is that it's not dwindling in the real sense of it when you speak in relative terms. Because taxation is what you pay on income earned as an individual or an entity. If you don't earn anything, you don't pay anything.
But we know Nigeria earns a lot and Nigerians spend a lot.
Well,
the function of earning is aggregated in the GDP of the nation. It's absolute total figures of the total production of goods and services of a nation. If you look at it from when the taxation started, you claim the taxation started dwindling. The GDP was coming down too. I think in 2014, it was about $568 billion. In 2015, I think it came down to about $486 billion. In 2016, it came to about $405 billion. And if they can still sustain the level of taxation they have garnered in, like I said to you, respectively 4.7, 3.7, and 3.3, you will know that they have squeezed water out of the stone to get.
Well, those are the mechanics of it. Exactly. But at the end of the day, you certainly know that, okay, how much is there? If you compare with the previous, you know that it's not the same.
And what's really changed between that period and now? Because Nigeria is still totally dependent on crude oil, apart from the little exportation now on yam and some food.
Yeah. All right. We'll come back to this. Bola, let's put you on hold a little. Okay. We'll go on a break and then we'll come back to...
Chartered accountant, of course, the tax specialist and also former special advisor on taxation and revenue to Lagos State government. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you.
Yes, before we went on break, Mike was talking about, the mechanics and technicalities of taxation in Nigeria. But then, what's changed between that time, comparatively till now? Nigeria is still dependent on crude oil and is not really manufacturing or exporting finished goods?
Well, a lot of things changed. The federal government realized that we were going to get into trouble if nothing was done when we realized that out of our control, the oil prices had gone down and it was the mainstay of the economy. So they put in a lot of measures, inclusive of diversifying the economy, looking for other sustainable means of funding government activities and programs, which also is this taxation thing. And then why are we like that? We got a huge room for growth in taxation because as of today, just like your presentation said, we are taxed to GDP ratio. It's about one of the lowest not only in sub-Sahara, in the entire world, about 6.5%. You know, so and for emerging economies like ours, the average worldwide is about 20%. So that means we have like about 12, 14, 15% room to improve on what we have. And that's what this present management or administrators of our tax collections are looping into right now. And that's what has changed. They know that there are people that are supposed to be paying, they are not paying. They're still making some monies in the economy. Federal government says we are spending our way out of recession. So monies, and of course, recently Kemi Adeosun also said about 1.3 trillion had been spent on infrastructures for development and things like that. That money is in this economy. Some companies are dealing on that, some individuals are dealing on that. Are they paying taxes on it? And that's why the Eagle Eye FIRS is looking at who makes such money, and that's why that's where they're getting the monies from. They also know of some other things like the fast games people play. You know, I mean, for example, you and I know that a lot of people misprice imports and exports, and we lose a lot of money from that area. I know that a car will cost me about 10 million naira to buy and bring into the country. On my FX papers, I say that I pay 2 million for it. So you should be looking at you taxing me 2 million on this thing. So exactly. All that have been rearranged and standard pricing has been done. I know how much a car costs. Even if you say you buy yours for 2 million, I know that the standard price is 10 million. If you come, you say you buy it for 50 million, I don't care. I say by our pricing is 10 million, I'm taxing you on 10 million. If you say it's 2 million, I take it up to. So we're blocking loopholes in such areas, and technology is also helping. They've deployed a lot of technology, you know, without paying for them, because the people will get compensated when there is an incremental inflow from that technology. For example, if the base is 10 million that we're collecting now, and with the use of your technology, we're able to raise our total collections to 20 million. The increment of 10 million is what you will get compensated on a commission for deploying your technology to bring in another 10 million. So technology is helping. The exchange of data, like I said earlier on, you know, that they just signed recently in January. From January 2018, Nigeria will be part and parcel of the automatic exchange of information standards worldwide, which means for every country under that standard, we can exchange information about ourselves. If there is a Nigerian there who has assets or investments in there, they will tell the Nigerian authorities, this man has this. Then we look into his files, into his tax returns and see, did he declare such income in Nigeria? If he hadn't, then we're going to be asking him, where did you get the money from?
That would really be great.
You know, so nice. They're doing a lot of things that will give hope. And that was where I premised my position. Am I disturbed? I'm not disturbed. Am I concerned? Yes, I'm very concerned. But my concern is mitigated by the caliber of people managing the tax administration of the country at this crisis-laden period. Okay, well, it's good we were disturbed, but now we're not disturbed anymore. We're concerned. And we're hopeful. Well, we don't have all the time now, but let me ask this question. There are so many companies who couldn't function well at the peak of the recession. Some had to close up, others had to cut down on staff and all of that. Now, when it comes to accruable taxes to these companies, for the sake of fairness, how do you administer that period of time when the company went down a little? No, you see, taxation is a progressive system. When you say it's progressive, it's mindful of your state of health financially. If I take you as an individual, Mike, if last year you were earning 20 million per annum, and your tax obligation after all your reliefs and deductions, possible deductions, your tax obligation for the year was about 3 million. Immediately, and I pray it doesn't happen to you, something happens and your income drops from 20 million to 5 million in a year, or no income in a year. The authority will automatically recognize that you have no income, or your income has reduced. You won't say because you paid 3 million the previous year, you should come back and pay 3 million this year. It's calculated on your income and your entitled reliefs. So if a company was on about 2-3 years ago, and with the recession, they had shut down, and there is a proof, they can file that there was no business, nothing for them. Even if you have shut down, you have no business paying taxes again. But if they went on low-key, and their activities will reflect that by their books of accounts and records that they keep, it is that books of accounts and records that the tax auditors will review and say, okay, they didn't have so much going on this previous year, so this is the tax that they will pay, or no tax at all. They have a tax holiday, and they carry. Sometimes you even have tax credits that you carry to the following year.
All right, thank you very much for your analysis. Bola Shodikpo, you are a chartered accountant and, of course, a former special advisor on taxation and revenue to the Lagos State government. Thank you for coming to this.
Thank you, Aziza. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.